important device or an equipment on board ship. Reason why? Because what the fuel or oil we are using for our engine, for the machinery, it shall be clear of the foreign particles, it shall be clear of water, right? Yes. Because if the water is present or the foreign particles it is present, like metal particles, dust particles, if it is present in the fuel or oil, what will happen? Let us first say, if the presence of water or the foreign particles are there in the oil, what will happen? Right. In the oil, lubricating oil, right? Okay, in the lubricating oil, so what will happen now? If the water presence is there, then the water, with the oil, it will go to the various lubricating parts, right? And the water, it will lead to corrosion, yes? Also, there is a difference in the boiling point of the water and oil. The boiling point of the water is low, isn't it? So what happens now? Due to that, the temperature of the lubricating oil, it will rise and it may change its properties. So it may affect the lubrication, yes or no? If in the oil the dust particles are there or the metal particles are there, muck is there, sludge is there, what will happen? That may lead to the hot spot. Yes or no? That may lead to the hot spot. Hot spot means generally which will lead to a crankless explosion, right? And it may choke, it may clog the lubricating parts, which are very minor parts. It may lubricate, it may clog that, and the lubrication may be deprived, right? So there may be a lubrication problem may be there in the engine, yes or no, in the various parts of the engine. So that's why our lube oil should have a proper hygiene. It should be free from the solid particles. It should be free from water, yes. Similarly, if we have the water or some insoluble solid particles present in the fuel, what will happen? Now with the fuel, if the water goes, it may lead to the incomplete combustion, yes or no, right? What may happen again? It may give you a bad smoke, a white smoke. Yes, it may lead to the corrosion of the combustion chamber and the piston parts and the piston rings. Yes or no? Right? And similarly, if the solid particles are present with the fuel, then it may clog the injectors, the small passages of the injector. Yes or no? So that's why what is required is we need a good or a proper hygiene of the fuel and oil. Yes or no? That's why this purifier or clarifier or separator or centrifuge, everything is same, right? We make use of it on board ship. It plays an important role to maintain the hygiene of the fuel and oil. Is it clear? Yes. Well, okay. Now, on board ship, what we do? We store the fuel, we store the oil. Yes, we store the fuel and oil in the various storage tanks. Yes, from the storage tank, we transfer it to the ready-use tank or to the service tank. Yes. From the service tank, we use it for the various machineries and equipments for the engines, isn't it? Now, during this process of storing, now the water gets inside it, right? Or some other particles gets inside it. Actually, what are the ways? What is the source? The water is getting contaminated, or the oil is getting contaminated, right? What is the source from where the solid particles are coming? There are various means. It may come via transportation through the pipelines, isn't it? Through the pipelines, there may be rust may be there in the pipelines. So due to that, it may happen. It may happen. The biggest source of water getting into the fuel or into the oil is what? Is very good. Is condensation. Condensation, right? Because what happens generally, all the tanks, let it be service tank, let it be the storage tank, they all have the breather vents. Yes or no? Right? So what happens? The air presence is always there in the tanks. So what happens? Due to the change in temperature, the condensate is formed and that mixes with the fuel or the oil. Right? So we shall get rid of it. Isn't it? So this purifier, we can use it from storage tank to the service tank in between. Yes? From storage tank to storage tank itself, we take the suction from the tank, clean it, put it back to the tank. Yes or no? From service tank to service tank. Yes or no? We can use it from engine sump to engine sump. Like here, we have the oil in the sump, right? So what we can do? Take the oil, purify it by the purifier, and again put it into the sump. Isn't it? We can use it in the manuals. So just we have drawn something over here. If you can come and see. The purifier. Fine. This is the purifier. This is the service tank. This is the example which is given over here. Understand? Service tank. Here this is the engine sump, like here. Okay. Storage tank number 1, storage tank number 2, maybe more. Yes? Okay. So here what happens now? This purifier, it is taking suction from everywhere. Okay, from some through this one. Yes. From service tank through this one. Yes. From storage tank number 1 through this one. From storage tank number 2 from here. Yes or no? Right? So whatever valve I will open, it will take the suction from that particular place. Yes or no? Okay, and where I want to put it? The discharge is also to the every place. To the service tank, to the sump, to number 2, to the storage tank number 1. Yes or no? Example, I want to run it from now this device, it is used to purify, to separate the insoluble liquid, two different insoluble liquids which have the different specific gravity or the difference in densities. Yes or no? Right? And the solid particles also which have the different. This is the purifier. We can use it or we can separate by using a clarifier also, right? So basically, first of all, we should know that what is the difference between the purifier and clarifier. What is between the purifier and clarifier is what? The purifier, it is designed to separate the water from the fuel or the oil, from the liquid. Understand? To separate the water. Understand? But doesn't mean that it will not separate the solid particles. It separates some amount of solid particles also. Is it clear? Yes. Right? But whereas for the clarifier, it is used to separate the solid particles, insoluble solid particles from the fuel or the oil. Is it clear now? Yes. Yes or no? Right? Okay. Clarifier also can separate some amount of water, and this can also separate some amount of solid particles. Right? But it is basically designed, the purifier is basically for separating the water from the fuel or the oil. Is it clear? This is purifier. What is here? Understood? Okay. Now while studying about the OWS, we have seen there are two methods of separation by which we can separate the insoluble liquids, right? What is it? Gravity separation. Is it clear? Gravity separation is what? Basically, the gravity separation is the separation which occurs due to the difference in the specific gravities of the liquid. Yes or no? Isn't it? Here also, the two insoluble liquids are separated due to the difference in the specific gravity of the liquids. Yes or no? Fine. Okay. Now, what happens here? We use the method of gravity separation, but in addition, we add the centrifugal force to it. What we add? Centrifugal force. Right? When we add the centrifugal force to it, the separation, it becomes thousands times greater than the normal gravity separation. Because normal gravity separation, it is a time-taking process. Yes or no? It is a time-taking process. It takes time. It takes hours and hours, right? But if the centrifugal force is added to it, then the separation becomes easier, right? And it becomes thousands of times greater. Yes or no? Okay. Now, centrifugal force, all of you may be aware of it. What happens now? What happens? The source of energy or the motion is always from the center. Yes? Isn't it? And when the momentum is given, when the kinetic energy is imparted, thereafter what happens? The output is tangentially out. If you leave something like it, it will go tangentially, making an angle of 90 degrees. Yes or no? Fine? Okay. So here what we use is the centrifugal separation. That means basic is the gravity separation only, but we use the centrifugal force. Right? Understand? Okay. Fine. Now let us come to this. Fine. We'll dismantle each and everything. We'll go in detail about it. Fine. Two basic parts. See? Two basic parts. Right? One is the horizontal, which is in front of you. This one. Yes. This is the horizontal, and this is the vertical part. Is it clear? Okay. The one which is horizontal here, this is known as driving unit. What unit? Driving unit. The one which is vertical is known as processing unit. Is it clear? Right. This means driving unit, the job of the driving unit is to drive the processing unit, to give the motion, to transfer the motion to the processing unit. Chikrelam? Fine. Okay. Now, driving unit, what we have in the driving unit now? Driving unit, the power is given by an electric motor. Can you see this electric motor here? Yes or no? Yes. Say, where is the electric motor? This one. Come this side. Everybody come this side. Okay. So this is the driving unit. the driving unit, it transfers the motion oil to the processing unit. Yes, whatever the processing happens to the liquid which is required to be processed, right? Liquid means basically it may be a fuel or oil, right? Which is required to be processed. That is done in the processing unit. The job of the driving unit is to transfer the motion to the processing unit. Is it clear? Now this is the motor. The motor, and thereafter you can see there is a shaft which is running around, which is going horizontal into the driving unit. Yes? Okay. Here, the shaft which is there, this shaft is supplied on the as the friction coupling. What is it?
Friction coupling.
Friction coupling. What is the job of the friction coupling? Now look here. Read it. Please do not waste time. All of you. Right? Everybody, just look at me. I am rotating the shaft of the motor. All of you can see. I am rotating the shaft of the motor. Is the motion is transferred to this?
No.
Why? Because there is a friction coupling. What is there inside? Friction coupling. Now which I am rotating. Right? Okay. This is the shaft. What is this? Shaft. Understand? On this shaft, what happens is there are the flyweights. Understand? There are the flyweights which are attached to this. This is the one flyweight hinge here and like this. Understand? When the shaft rotates, the flyweight it comes out. It flies out. Are you getting me now? These are known as friction pads. What is it? Friction pads. Okay? Now what happens is, now see I was rotating it slowly. Now when I rotate it fast, you can hear the sound. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. What happens now? These flyweights which are there on the shaft, on the motor shaft, right? It is like this. The shaft fly is, when it rotates like this, what happens? It flies out. Understand? With the motion it flies out, and inside this coupling. Can you see this coupling here? Inside, hollow, right? Here what happens? This is the coupling inner part. Flyweight flies out, look here, right? And it touches it, okay? And then rotate the entire shaft with the friction coupling. Is it clear? Why this is given? This is to avoid a sudden torque, a certain overload on the motor and on the drive which is given to the processing unit. Understand?